EA is known for mishandling games and developers, killing game series, and worse yet, entire studios. But I don't believe that EA is pure evil, like many people will tell you. I wouldn't even say that they publish bad games, but there is a pattern we can discern from EA. The mishandling of assets creates a rift between the players and EA. This week, with 3 different videos, we will be diving into some of EA's mistakes. We will see what happened, and then we will see what they should do to get back on track. I'm Darth Pascal, and let's see what happened. The original Dead Space game breathed new life into the survival horror genre. Visceral had created what some people called a horror masterpiece. The game was a critical and financial success, selling around 2 million copies. Not a bad start for a beginning franchise, especially in a genre that at that point wasn't at the forefront of people's minds. Dead Space 2 released 3 years later and was a step up from its predecessor in almost every way. It did better critically, fans were extremely pleased, and it sold twice as many copies as the original, selling around 4 million copies. After Dead Space 2, everyone was wondering where was the franchise headed next. Even with what appeared to be great sales, it wasn't enough. Releasing 3 years later, some strange decisions were made with Dead Space 3. It added co-op, but a purchase of a pre-owned copy meant online play was locked behind a paywall. And all the way back in 2013, microtransactions were added to the game. A single-player game, a non-competitive game where if you spent more money, you could survive easier. I haven't even gotten to the fact that with Dead Space 3, they shifted away from horror and made the game more action-adventure oriented to make the game more approachable to bring more sales. The game was considered a failure by EA, and then the series was put on ice, seemingly forever. One of the most groundbreaking horror game series was killed because of decisions EA made to make the game more successful. Visceral was then tasked to make a cops and robbers style game with the Battlefield title called Battlefield Hardline. It was one of the worst selling Battlefield games of all time. Battlefield, a game known for large-scale realistic battles, was turned into a cops and robbers game. Did they believe that this is what it would take to beat Call of Duty? It's clear with Battlefield Hardline, Visceral was set up for failure before the game was even released. Visceral did get one final attempt to make a game, an untitled Star Wars game with the codename Project Ragtag, centering around a large-scale heist. Fans were extremely hopeful about this game, especially with such a renowned single-player developer like Visceral. But EA canceled the game, stating, "We don't believe there is a market for single-player games anymore." But worse yet, they completely shut down the entire studio of Visceral Games. 2 years later, after the shutdown of the studio, Respawn Entertainment, another EA-owned developer, released Jedi Fallen Order, selling 8 million copies, proving that there is still a strong market for great single-player experiences within games, especially ones without microtransactions. What can we learn from the destruction of Visceral? Leave your developers alone. Let them work on a game and let them stick to their vision and game plan as much as possible. If a game doesn't sell 30 million copies, it doesn't mean it's a failure. Make great single-player games and leave microtransactions out of them. And lastly, and most importantly, listen to your fans, not just your investors. I will see you guys tomorrow as I will be covering 2 major racing game franchises that EA has completely mishandled. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of EA and if you missed Dead Space or Visceral games. Anyways, I'm Darth Pascal and I will see you guys tomorrow.